Well, one of Montana's largest agricultural gatherings is officially underway here in Great Falls. It's the Montana Grain Growers Association's annual convention. This year, also featuring our friends from the Northern Pulse Growers Association and PNW Canola Association. And by the way, our thanks to Nutrien Ag Solutions for helping to sponsor our coverage from this year's Montana Grain Growers Association annual convention here in Great Falls. Learn more at nutrienseed.com. Well, helping to kick things off this year here in Great Falls was Shaun Haney with Real Agriculture and the host of the radio program RealAg Radio. And Shaun, thanks for joining us back down here in Big Sky Country. You officially call Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada home. What brought you back down here to this MGGA convention?
Well, Russell, not my first time here. I've been here before a couple times. Always have really enjoyed this convention. Of course, there's a lot of similar opportunities and challenges when you look at where I'm from in southern Alberta and compare it to what's going on in Montana. Both kind of really praying for some rain when it comes to 2023, but it's great to be here. I was invited by PNW Canola Association and Northern Pulse Growers to open their reception tonight, and it was a lot of fun.
It was. I actually met you a few years ago at this very convention, and you said, as you mentioned, this wasn't your first time here at this convention, and the first one or couple of times you actually stumbled into this just by accident because you were in Great Falls for a completely different thing.
Yeah, of course, we do all of our shopping in Great Falls, and we do Black Friday and stuff like that. But yeah, we were here for, I think it was a hockey tournament when the kids were younger, and I was like, what's going on? Hey, I got my recorder with me. I might as well cover the event. So it's great to be back.
Well, talk about what you do on radio, and you're a lot like my team at Western Ag Network. I mean, you're in the business to help give farmers and ranchers, whether it's north of the border or down here in the States, a better idea about what's going on with their industry. Talk about how you got into the industry yourself.
Yeah, so kind of was working on our family farm. We had a seed operation and a feed yard. Was kind of moonlighting, starting to write, on a blog. I had bought the URL, realagriculture.com, and things really took off from there. The timing was really good with things like Twitter and YouTube coming to fruition, and we just continued to grow. Now we got 14 staff across Canada. We do come down to the U.S. lots to cover things like Commodity Classic, meetings like this, National Farm Machinery Show, NCB. I think we've seen each other there before as well. And in 2016, we started RealAg Radio on Rural Radio 147 on Sirius XM, and it's been great because now we don't only get to talk to a Canadian audience, but we have a really large U.S. audience as well, which is really, really awesome to hear all the different perspectives.
Well, guys like me and you, we could sit here and talk all day long, but let's talk about some of the big issues that your farmers and ranchers are talking a lot about amongst themselves and working with industry associations like the ones down here in the States.
Well, I think some of the issues are all the same. It's like interest rates, it's commodity prices, it's input prices, whether that's fertilizer, diesel, and alike. How does the war in Ukraine impact the market going forward? What happens to some of these prices as we head into 2023? Is this kind of a seasonal lift that we're going to see where prices will be higher, or is this kind of the beginning of more of a slower trend downward? Farmers trying to manage that margin, whether they're in Western Canada, Eastern Canada, or anywhere in the U.S. It's really about managing the margin, I think, on 2023 and buying those inputs correctly and trying to manage the sale of the crop based on what that production is going to be.
Absolutely, and of course, you guys are always watching what's happening down here in the U.S., just the same as we're always kind of watching what's going on up in Canada and around the world. I mean, what are you following down here?
Well, I think a big thing down here this week has been potential for a rail strike and how that potentially impacts Canada. That would be a very, very big deal. I think we're always very interested in the trade issues. Of course, Canada and the U.S. Obviously compete around the world in the export market on things like beef and pork and grains and oil seeds. But we've got a lot of similar. There's a lot of collaboration that also happens behind the scenes as well. Of course, corn is a major, major driver of all of the commodity markets. So I think from a Canadian perspective, we're always paying attention as, a lot of our futures contracts, of course, are traded in U.S. dollars. So Canadians follow very, very closely what's happening in the U.S. And, tonight, speaking to the pulse growers and canola growers, it's a little bit of the opposite, where they're paying attention to what's actually happening in Canada, especially on agronomics, which is kind of a different situation. It's kind of cool to go through with them.
Well, you've interviewed a lot of folks over the years in your career, and I just have to wrap things up. I mean, when can we expect an interview on Real Ag Radio with King Charles?
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon. It would be interesting. After watching The Crown, I've got a lot of questions, though.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we know the royal family is very much in tune with agriculture
Oh, yeah,
and where
super.
where
Yeah.
their food and fiber comes from. Anyway, Shaun Haney with Real Agriculture from Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada, and of course the host of Real Ag Radio. You can learn more online at realagriculture.com. And for more on the Montana Grain Growers Association's annual convention underway through Thursday here in Great Falls, you can visit them online at mgga.org.